That's me, Chris Cillizza, and you are at the Fix Hangout. It is day one, but really day two of the Republican National Convention. Mitt Romney has officially now become the Republican presidential nominee. Whew, a lot of drama there. And I have with me a great group of people. We have journalists, we have a Romney campaign staffer, and we have a few folks who, out of their own goodwill, have signed on to chat with us. So let me intro everybody first. With me here is Zac Moffatt, digital director of the Romney campaign. Zac is in a good mood now because he was worried that Ron Paul was going to be the nominee, but it's actually going to be Mitt Romney. On the Hangout, you see Patricia Murphy, my not lost, but my long-time friend from the Daily Beast, and Reid Wilson, who has never been lost, but he's always been my friend from Hotline. And this is great, and I'm so appreciative of this. So we asked people to sign up to participate in these Hangouts. My mom signed up, but in addition to my mom, she didn't make it the cut. Sorry, Mom. In addition to my mom, we have Eion O'Neill on from North Wales, Pennsylvania, and we have Michael Carson from Plainfield, Illinois. Guys, I really appreciate you being on because we're literally in a fishbowl here, but I feel like we're always in a fishbowl in journalism, so it's nice to hear voices of folks who follow this stuff but are not, in fact, in it. So here's how it's going to go. I want to ask Zac a few questions here, but then I want to open up Patricia, Reid, Eion, and Michael. You guys jump in. I'll try and moderate here if we're all talking at once. It won't work, but let me talk to Zac for a minute, and then we'll open up. We want to talk broadly about sort of what Mitt Romney is doing digitally at the convention and in the fight. So, Zac, let's talk about the convention first. Obviously, you have 4 days. I know it's been shortened to 3, but most of us has been here longer. How do you capitalize on the fact that you have, 15,000, conservatively 15,000 journalists here? You have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have Google+, you have all of these technologies. How do you make it more than just people sending things into the ether that on Thursday night or Friday morning are all gone? Is there a way to capture either the intensity that's happening or the regular folks who are interested in Mitt Romney who might not have reached yet?
Yeah, I think the conventions provide multiple opportunities. I think having everyone together it's imperative for us as a campaign to be reaching out to do things like this, to make sure that we're talking to people and having those engagements, and maybe giving them exposure to things that they didn't know we're working on. Obviously, a campaign is a lot of moving parts. We just rolled out our Square reader for our iPhone, and maybe this is an opportune time for us to do that. I mean, one of the things we did as the Romney campaign is obviously we went through a very long primary process and through 36 states. And so really what happens is when you're doing that, whenever you're the challenger against an incumbent, you come into whenever point you become kind of the de facto nominee, and you suddenly think, how do I iterate from here to get ready for the convention? Because you have a finite amount of time.
Absolutely.
In our case, we literally sent out probably 8 teams of developers to all go work on other projects, to all come back to a mid-August deadline to be able to roll everything out, because we really see the convention.
Can I ask you something? How do you decide? We have, I mean, it's a good problem to have, but I think every company, we have it at the Post, I think every company has it to a certain extent. How do you decide what you greenlight and what you don't? Because you got a million ideas, and there's so many things popping up technologically, social media, all this. Where do you decide to put your energy and say, okay, this is something we're going to invest time, money, and people in?
Yep.
I know how they make decisions on campaign ads or polling or that sort of stuff. There's less of a blueprint for what you're doing.
I think for sure that's my job. I mean, as a digital director, it's resource allocation. It's where do things go, and what are you going to do, and what are you going to get the best return on investment on, and what's the best not only for the campaign and the candidate, but for the people who want to participate with the campaign. What platforms are you building? So I think you're always looking to build things that can kind of then be exponentially grown on their own. You want to give people the tools, and then they go out. The Square Reader being a classic example, because we're going to empower 5,000 people.
Just give me a quick explanation on Square Reader, because some people are not as technologically savvy as yourself.
Sure.
And I'll put myself in the not as technologically savvy category.
So we have a partnership with Square where we actually have built a unique application on like an iPhone application where you can put a little Square Reader into your iPhone. You can swipe a credit card, and that donation goes to the campaign right away. So that's empowered people across the country to take their iPhones and can now collect mobile donations through mobile payments.
It's the technology you see them using in the Apple Store.
It's exactly. You see the Apple Store, Starbucks just did a big deal with them. So this is kind of the payment model, the mobile payment of the future. We're now going to empower 5,000 people from here to go back to their communities and start to do this on behalf of the campaign. And we're also going to do it at victory parties. We're going to do it at convention watching parties. You think about this, we're empowering all these people to kind of get involved with the campaign in another way. So that's the first part. I think the other things that are really important, our mobile site, we've made a huge push to mobile. We've definitely seen since Congressman Ryan joined the ticket, we've seen our traffic, over 40% of our site traffic now is mobile. So we're getting over 250,000 people a day, and 40% of that is mobile. So what we did is we knew that was coming because we saw kind of how consumption habits were happening online. And so we rolled out last week a far more expansive mobile site, so we can really take advantage of that. And so those are the type of things that we sit down in April and say, where do we need to be in August, and what do we need to start building for?
Which is, I mean, in a way, it's everything old is new again, which is that's in some ways the exact way they plan ad strategy, staffing. I mean, it's just another component of that. Reid, Patricia, jump in. If you have a question for Zac, throw it out there.
Yeah, Zac, I wanted to just sort of get your take here. 2006 was the YouTube election with George Allen's comments and all that. 2008 maybe the Facebook campaign. 2010 the Twitter campaign. What are we going to remember this campaign for? And then tell me what the 2014 campaign is going to be.
Sure. Well, I think 2012. It will be the first time. 2012 will be the first time that dollars for paid media move online. So you're actually going to see a structural change in the way that campaigns are run, because now what's happening is TV budgets are going to start being used online. So we've moved from 2008, which was list building and fundraising, and in 2012 you are actually going to use persuasion and mobilization. And by that I mean we've just come out. We call them on-demanders or off-the-gridders. These are people. We've gone into the field twice now, 1,100 person sample surveys. 1 in 3 people last week didn't watch live television other than sports. Wow. I mean, that's huge
amazing
amount. When you think about that, 1 in 3 with DVR boxes, Hulu. Think about how you lived your life.
Totally. I never watch live television.
Of course.
I don't even watch sporting events live because I don't want to watch commercials.
And you can't watch sporting events without watching it live because of Twitter. I mean, Twitter is completely redefined the way it is. Everything cuts through, and so it's really difficult. And so I realized that when I saw my mom no longer realize that Modern Family was Wednesday at 8. She suddenly thought it was on the DVR box, and she didn't think of it as a 30-minute show. She thought of it as 22 minutes. And so we realized, okay, how much money do we put into gross rating points, and how much are we missing people if we only rely on television?
Good point. Patricia?
Yeah, you mentioned something so interesting, that some of your traffic, the nature of your traffic had changed since Paul Ryan came on the ticket. What has happened, and why do you think that's happened?
I think there's two things to it. I think some of it is demographic. I think there's people who are new and interested in it. I think also people's consumption habits have changed even in the last year. Google calls it the 0 moment of truth. When you're looking for something, you want to find it exactly then. And normally when you want to find it, you're on your mobile phone. So suddenly, consumption is no longer waiting to get back to your screen on your desktop. You want to know right there, and that's completely changed everything.
It's so amazing. I find myself now, when I was a sophomore and freshman in college, I had to go to a separate floor to get my internet. And I'm not that old. I'm 36. I go to a separate floor to get my internet. Now, if I can't access the latest English Premier League score and watch the highlights of people playing on my phone, I get annoyed. I'm like, come on, what is it? It's amazing how to your point, the expectation has gone through the roof. Michael, Eion, jump in. Hopefully, if you have a question for Reid, me, Patricia, or Zac, we can answer it. I can't speak for Reid, but Patricia can answer those questions.
I have a question.
Careful, Chris. I'm in range enough that I can throw something at you. So.
I have a question. Do you reach across party lines to get to find out what they're doing, or do you just primarily come up with, are you on the cutting edge of what's going on with respect to technology?
Oh, I think as it relates to technology, you have to pay attention to what the other side's doing. I mean, in this day and age, we do benchmarks against them both, whether or not it's on how you're growing on your networks, whether or not it's different tools that people are leveraging. But I think that while you are looking, you have to execute your own strategy. We don't need to run Barack Obama's campaign. We need to run the Mitt Romney campaign. We need to know the 6 things we need to do in order to win in November, because if we don't, we're kind of confusing motion with movement. And then that's very easy on a campaign, that you get very caught up in things and you're always chasing. And there are certain things the Obama campaign probably will undertake that we're thankful that they're doing. It's not something we want to do. Now, that's a strategic determination by us, but that's really a big change.
But to that point, do you think it is the conventional wisdom on social and sort of web technology more broadly is Democrats were light years ahead of you guys in 2008. That Obama just erased $500 million online. I know that's not the only thing that the web can be used for, but they kind of ran circles around you guys. Is that accurate, and how much ground have you guys made up since then, and how much of that ground that you made up was looking at what they did and say, okay, what are the pieces here that we can take and do well?
I think it's fair to say in 2008, it became a momentum unto itself because of the size of the organization. The money that was raised was self-fulfilling. It was almost like a viral loop that the efficiency was such that it allowed it to kind of loop on itself. I don't think in 2012 that happened, and I think the reason for that is you've got guys like Matt Rhodes and Beth Myers who sat down and said, what resources do you need as a digital director to be successful? I think as soon as that occurred, it's kind of a seismic shift. It's no longer, because if the Democrats or Republican owned online, Amazon would only sell to Democrats or only sell to Republicans. Online is universal. Everyone is online. The question is, how does the party, what resources? And the way that I would look at it, when we came out of the primary in April, we had 87 people on staff. Obama had 750. So even though we believe we're better than them 1-to-1, are we 9-to-1s better than them?
Probably not.
Probably not. So then what happens is you move from there to 60 days later, our digital department was 100 people by itself. So now we have more people in our digital just digital. So more people are in digital than won the primary for Mitt Romney in April.
So you're in charge of 100 people.
Yeah, that's 100 plus people in our digital department.
Big boss. Other questions, folks? Feel free to fire away. You got Zach. Go ahead, jump in.
Ian, were you going to go for it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I know that you tried getting the announcing the VP pick on your iPad app, and that kind of got spoiled by the spoilers the night before. Do you consider that a success or a failure?
Oh, I thought the VP app was a huge success. It was a huge success.
What were the downloads? How many? I mean, I know I still have it on my phone.
Hundreds of thousands. 200,000 in the first 48 hours. And so the way that I would define success on a couple levels. One, us and Obama, by chance, both released apps on the same day. On day one, free downloads in the App Store, Mitt Romney VP, number 14, Barack Obama 120. So it's because we actually use an outside force to generate interest, which kind of, because really at the end of the day, what an app is about market share. It's got what people can do in it, because it's not a passive action. You actually have to go on. It's not like a mobile website where you don't have to go and do it. To download an app is a very big step. Right. And to your point, we now have hundreds of thousands of people. We've even seen with our push notification, 50% plus reach greater than any other app these people have worked with before, because so many people wanted that push notification.
But what do you do? This is my whole thing, and I struggle with this too. What do you do? Okay, so you had all these people download the app with under the auspices of it. The VP is going to come through here. Now the VP came through the media, and you guys can, but you still had all these people download that. What do you do now? I mean, I assume there's some drop-off of people who just wanted to know who the VP was, but that's my whole thing. How do you take that thing, hundreds of thousands of downloads, which is a great number, but how do you turn it into either votes for Mitt Romney, money for Mitt Romney, somebody willing to go out and vote for, knock on doors for Mitt Romney?
Well, it's two things, and I'll do the second part. I want to talk about whether or not we still think that we actually, exclusively from the campaign, the first and only confirmed source was the app.
Okay.
There were people who said it by background, but if you look at and think, no one actually would go on. There was a lot of people kind of going on rumors, which was obviously frustrating for me as a digital director. But I'm still vindicated by the fact that when Will Blitzer holds it up at 7:04 a.m. and he goes, no longer need to worry, we know it's going to be Paul Ryan. Like, the app did that. And I think that there are some people, yourself, myself, who at 11 o'clock at night on a Friday thought it was awesome to talk about on Twitter. But most people, I would assume 95% of our audience, the app was
normal
the first.
Human beings.
People
so
on a Friday night who have other things going for them. But I think to your point, so the way an app works is it's really a shell, right? When someone downloads the app, they're downloading a show. That's how updates occur. On your Facebook mobile app, they do updates all the time. What you're going to see from us and what you're going to see this week is a push to that, and suddenly we're going to have hundreds of thousands of people now with a tool that even if we wanted to do it traditionally, we never would have got that type of penetration in the mobile market, because there's just not people aren't thinking about it. Now we're in the forefront of their mind. This is occurring. And what was more powerful for us in the app was actually the social sharing. We went from growing probably 40,000, 50,000 people a day on our Facebook page to 160,000 the day after we announced the app, because people were sharing it with their friends. And that's really where the power is because it's across all mediums, not just on mobile.
Now, I'm not going to keep Zach. It's both hot lights because I'm pressuring him, but also it's hot lights here. So I don't want to keep him too much longer because we will both will. But Patricia, Reid, do you guys have anything?
Go ahead, Patricia.
I just had a quick question. What are your different digital strategies for male voters and female voters? Because I think women engage differently online than men do, and does that play a role in different strategies?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it affects targeting for sure. I mean, without a doubt, there's that element of it. I think also different content. I think what you also see is people kind of get to self-select online. On television, it's one size fits all. Whereas online, you can deliver different types of content, and you kind of let the end user choose. I think it's the same that you find with bilingual content. I'm always surprised by how many people will watch the bilingual version of the video, but then go and read more in English on our site. And so you see it again and again. So, content online has that dynamic capability, so we have different opportunities. But I think for us, we do definitely generate different types of content that we target differently online because you have that kind of different breakdown.
And when you say differently, Patricia, I'm just going to follow up on yours. I hope this is the direction you're headed. When you say differently, are we talking about differently in terms of what you said, or are we talking about different mediums? Are we talking about Tumblr versus Pinterest versus,
yeah,
both, maybe it's a both and.
I think it's all when it relates to social. What I was talking about for Patricia was actually the actual video content.
Okay.
Like there may be different messaging even. That something might be, the same way. The thing with television is it's really one size fits all for the week, right? You're driving a message, you're driving a narrative. Whereas online, it has a longer tail that you can have these more macro messages that can kind of live on. And with online advertising, you can actually have progression. So if someone's watched one video, the next time they see the ad, they shouldn't see the same video. They should see the next in the progression of what the conversation is trying to have. Because on television, you'd love to see a different ad every time, but it would kind of permeate through that repetition wouldn't be there.
Right.
But online, because you're choosing to engage, whereas on television, it's kind of a one-way dialogue. It's very flat, like it's being pushed on you. Online, it's a rich media. You get to choose if you want to move on, or you get to choose for something else, so that kind of impacts it a lot.
How far are we removed from web advertising replacing TV advertising? How many elections are we removed?
I think that in 2016...
And I will hold you to whatever prediction.
I think 2016 you will see that social advertising and video advertising will almost be at parity with television. And I think that you will see that.
In terms of money spent.
In terms of money spent.
Yeah.
I think that they will, together, I think TV will be first among equals, but it won't be first, the way it is now. It won't be kind of the final process.
Right, 1 and then 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that'll be the big difference.
Zac Moffatt, Digital Director, the Romney campaign. It's a good day for him. Mitt Romney is officially the nominee. Patricia Murphy, it's always a good day for her. Reid Wilson, and I want to thank you very much, Eion O'Neill, Michael Carson, Ian in Pennsylvania, Michael in Illinois. Thank you guys for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mom. Maybe next time. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll be back here. Another Fix Hangout with Google Plus tomorrow, 6 p.m. Tune in. Be there. Be square. Bye. Thank you so much.